Hello everyone, hope you're having a great day. My name is Vince and thank you for joining me for another episode of Secrets of the Trails. Today we're in Rockwood, Pennsylvania, ready to check out the Great Allegheny Passage segment from Rockwood to Confluence. The Rockwood Trailhead is at gap mile 43.8. Our ride today is going to take us down to the Confluence main trailhead, which according to the Great Allegheny Passage Conservancy is a 17.8 mile point-to-point ride. This is one of the longer segments along the Great Allegheny Passage and has a few inter-segment trail access points that we'll see along the way. But here at Rockwood, there are actually two separate parking zones for the trailhead. This one is what I'd call the East Lot because it's on the eastern side of Rockdale Road. The trail users can use if they want to travel east toward Garrett and don't want to have to cross Rockdale Road, since the now closed Husky Haven campground is right over there. It's safe to assume that people parked here for the campground as well. The other parking zone is right here, what I'd like to call the West Lot, since it's on the western side of Rockdale Road. This main lot is technically split across the trail itself. The larger portion holds about 17 vehicles, while the smaller portion on the other side of the paved trail can hold about 5 to 7. You'll see that the trail running through the parking area is paved, though the lot itself is gravel and unlined. It should be considered the main lot for the trailhead since the official gap signage is here. And all of the standard amenities are here, including bike racks, 2 covered seating areas and some open benches, toilet facilities, a water fountain, and a bicycle repair station. Also available at the main lot is a snack shop and a bike shop in addition to some cool artwork, as well as a B&B. But if you're intending to spend some time in this trailhead town, you can grab some snacks at the snack shop when it's open, or cross the river for the Rock City Cafe or the Trailhead Brewing Company. There's also a convenience store just across the river. So before we mount up and check out this trail segment, let's take a brief look at the history of this trailhead town, Rockwood.
Nestled in the heart of Somerset County, Rockwood, Pennsylvania is a small town with a rich and fascinating history. Originally known as Shaft's Bridge and named after John Shaft, one of the early settlers, it also became known as Mineral Point due to the minerals found in the area. The town began to take shape in the mid-1800s as more settlers arrived, drawn by the abundant natural resources and opportunities in the region. The area was laid out by Philip Wolfersberger in 1857, and soon a hotel, blacksmith shop, tannery, wood mill, a schoolhouse, and even an opera house were built in the area. A post office was established, and since there already was a mineral point in Cambria County, the name of Rockwood was settled upon and the town was officially incorporated in 1885. The Pittsburgh and Connellsville Railroad extended through Rockwood in the mid-1800s, and by 1871, the Somerset and Mineral Point Railroad connected the P&C to Somerset. The Western Maryland Railroad laid their tracks on the southern bank of the Casselman River, and these railroad connections brought more commerce and industry to this small community. Soon after, the Baltimore and Ohio Railroad bought out the P&C, and these tracks remain active to this day. Of course, as with many of these towns along railroad lines, changing times meant changes in economic fortunes and industries. But Rockwood is one of a number of these rail towns that definitely has adapted with the times. Today, Rockwood focuses on tourism and leisure activities, including hiking, biking, and water sports. Rockwood is a major stop along the Great Allegheny Passage and is one of the few current trailheads that has a regularly staffed visitor center with friendly greeters able and willing to help and inform the users of the trail. The Rockwood Area Historical Society's museum holds a variety of memorabilia to honor Rockwood's past, and you can still see trains running through Rockwood regularly on the active CSX, formerly B&O, rail line. From its industrial beginnings to its modern-day charm, Rockwood, Pennsylvania continues to be a place where history meets nature, offering a warm welcome to all who visit.
I hope you enjoyed that brief look at the history of the city of Rockwood. And now it's time to mount up and ride the Rockwood to Confluence segment of the Great Allegheny Passage. So leaving the Rockwood trailhead, we can see the covered seating area here, just a short walk away from the trailhead itself, right at mile 44. Treadway width is about 10 feet, crushed limestone. Again, nicely groomed. As you probably saw a little bit ago, the visitor station there at Rockwood is usually manned during the day, most days of the week, by volunteers. The other volunteers here do an actually pretty good job of keeping the trail nice and clean in this segment. And if you remember back in the Frostburg to Deal segment, whenever I mentioned as we cross over the Eastern Continental Divide that the rest of the Great Allegheny Passage was all downhill, well, this is what I mean. Very gentle downslope, but as we get towards the Pinkerton Tunnel and closer to Fort Hill, between Markleton and Fort Hill, you can actually definitely tell a 2 to maybe 2.5% downslope, which is really pretty cool. So right here, just after mile 44, I don't know what the name of this is, but it's some kind of waterfall. I've seen this in the past with a lot of water flowing through it, but has a bench next to it, but obviously right now there really isn't any water. The middle of July, it's hot, and we don't have a lot of water right now in Western Pennsylvania here. Right now, if you're riding this portion, you can see a little bit of the Casselman. We're pretty high up above the Casselman right now. And another bench facing the other way, so guess what? There's probably another waterfall here. And there is, again, another no-name waterfall. There's no sign here. I haven't seen anything on Google Maps or anywhere else indicating what this stream is called. But if you want peacefulness along your trail ride or your trail walk, and you're so inclined, just spend a few minutes here. I'm gonna shut up. I could just sit here and just listen to the water flowing down over the rocks. How many times have I said it? You know what I'm gonna say, better than yoga. From here to Markleton and the other portions of this whole segment, a lot of shaded areas with some decent sunlit or open areas in between. So it's a nice mix, peaceful mix. And isn't that part of what we come out to bike for or to walk for? Just to commune with nature, relax, blow off some steam. If you're observant, you'll see these, looks like telegraph poles here in various spots along the river side of the trail, going all the way down almost to Confluence itself. And I looked this up one time. Apparently they were poles for what are called code lines. I guess before the advent of higher speed communications, satellites, cell phones, all that kind of jazz, a lot of railroads had code lines strung along the railway bed to, I guess, activate the signal lights and things like that, send other messages, etc. I did read this up on, I think it was on Reddit, somebody put that on, but I'll put the URL up on the screen here where I saw this, so you can actually take a look at the history of these things and what they used to be. Obviously, not all of them are still there, because you'd think that there should be one spaced fairly close together, but you could still see as we go along, if you're observing, you could see them on the side, and some of them actually still have wires hanging from them, and obviously this one does not. There's a little stream there that is empty. Decent views of the Casselman here through the foliage. Take a look at the drop-off on either side of the trail around this section. There are a few portions down here where it seems that the old rail bed was built up pretty high off the forest floor. A little bit more of the downslope that you can kind of feel. I think I measured this on the way up. This was about 2% upslope. So obviously now a 2% downslope. Now some more of those steep rock cliff formations. Interestingly though, they don't have the little markers. If you recall in the last episode, was mentioning about those markers. I don't have them over here. One thing I do have to say though about cell access, and we can't harp on it too much, but from about 4.5 miles or so out of Rockwood itself, all the way down till we get close to the lower Confluence bridge that we'll see down there below, there's almost no cell access at all. I have AT&T and I basically lose cell service a couple of miles away from Markleton, which is coming up here, all the way down to way below Fort Hill. So this is the little village of Markleton across the river there. Word is that there was a U.S. Army tuberculosis sanatorium here in the past. I think it was downriver a little bit, but I was searching for the pictures of where the site is right now, and I can't find it. So again, asking the public's help. If anybody knows where it is, send me a picture, or at least point me in a direction on the Google satellite map. The Markleton Trail access point is aligned with Gap Mile 50, which is coming up very shortly here. But the intersection here has limited sight distance for vehicles, so just be very, very careful. The trail actually continues straight, but the trail access point is down here on the left. So this access point shares space with river access for the Fish and Boat Commission. And you can see, probably easily over 20 vehicles at this access way. A porta potty way back in the distance there, some seating areas, but no other amenities at this trail access, and none of the parking spots seem to be indicated directly for handicapped access. So obviously to get back on the trail, we have to go up the Markleton School Road just a little bit to get to the trail access. And it is an uphill, folks. So if you actually just came off of that trail access, you better have some good legs. And here's mile marker 50. Another close cut through the rocks here. See, the water table is low, so some little mini rapids there, I guess. As we round the bend here, coming close to Gap Mile 52, is another one of these wonderful, oh my gosh, look at that, features on the Great Allegheny Passage. This is the area of the Pinkerton Tunnel, both high and low bridges. This whole area is sometimes referred to as the Pinkerton Horn because it's a natural peninsula where the Casselman River comes across underneath the low bridge here, goes all the way around, and on the other end of the tunnel, as we'll see here, the Pinkerton High Bridge, and the Casselman is further down below us, so that's obviously why they call it the High Bridge. I'll have more information on the website, but just to briefly mention, there was a time whenever this railroad right-of-way was abandoned, the Pinkerton Tunnel had fallen into disrepair. So whenever the trail created, they actually had a roundabout to go all the way around the horn and end up where the other end of the tunnel is. Interestingly, really nice. Obviously, some people enjoying the day there have a little bit of rapids and some nice flowing water here all the way down. Probably not as high as it should be, as noted by all of the rock faces that we can see here, but this is really cool. So right here is the Pinkerton bypass, but the Pinkerton Tunnel itself is not lighted, so make sure you have your light on, which is what I'm going to do right now, and take your sunglasses off. You can hear my magnets on my sunglasses rattling, I'm sure. They have redeveloped this whole tunnel, and as you can see probably from the shadows at least, and the light coming off of it, this is all corrugated steel as an arch all the way along the tunnel. So they did a really good job rehabilitating this thing. And here is where the Pinkerton bypass comes out. But right here at mile marker 52 is the Pinkerton High Bridge. So along these bridges and the tunnel, you definitely want to take some time here. This is definitely a selfie-worthy area of the Great Allegheny Passage. As you're able to tell, no doubt, the decking here is precast concrete, which makes it nice and durable and easy to ride across. The rest of the portion down to the fort trail access is a little bit further away from the river, but you can really tell the 1.5% to 2% downslope in certain spots here as we go along. Another one of those code line poles. You see them every once in a while along here. Obviously, some of them have fallen into great disrepair, probably rotted away and fallen onto the forest floor, but some are still standing. Coming close to the Fort Hill trail access. Fort Hill is just a little whistle stop, I guess, if you want to call it that way, but very, very small area community. It's actually named for the hill up that way, Fort Hill. I don't think it was actually ever an actual fort, but I think I read somewhere somebody mentioned that it was named Fort Hill because the hill actually kind of resembled a fort to them. Fort Hill Road comes down, as you can see that car right now, and comes around. So obviously, what do I always preach? Limited sight distance, be very, very careful. Stop, look, and listen. And on the other side of Fort Hill Road is the Fort Hill Trail access. So trail access point there for Fort Hill, probably about what, 7, 8 vehicles, unlined, unmarked, no amenities at this trail access. And as the sign duly mentions to us, 6 miles to Confluence. And from this vantage point down to Confluence, it's actually a pretty easy ride.
You'll see the fencing along this portion, and it protects us from a little danger because along the section where the fencing is, the trail is very close to the sheer drop-off down to the river.
About mile 57, a little bit after that actually, you get a little bit deeper of a downslope. I measured this on the way up and it's actually almost 3%. It's just a short section where it's this steep. Slope evens out here a little bit. It's again just those short segments where they're really a little bit more pronounced. But overall, from Rockwood all the way down, it is a consistent maybe 0.25% to 2.5% downslope. Off to the right here, you can't see it, but if you look at it on Google Maps, you can actually see there's a large island there. The Casselman splits just before that and then rejoins itself right here. Right about here, again, take another look on Google Maps because you can see it a lot easier. This actually is a much larger island. Obviously, again, uninhabited, just foliage, etc., wildlife there. But interesting how the Casselman will actually split, come back together, split, come back together at various points along its meandering down towards the Allegheny River. Oh, there's a sight you don't see every day. There's a deer using the trail. Can you see in the distance here? They're not afraid. They're actually running on the trail. All right, guys, it's time for you to stop using our trail. There they go. That's a GoPro Awards shot if I ever saw one, guys. Now coming up to another bridge. This is called the Lower Confluence Casselman River Bridge. Again, nice cast concrete cement decking, makes it easier to walk on. I'm not going to go grab my drone out for this one, but you can see obviously the Casselman at this stage is a lot more relaxed than it was when we came out of Garrett. And right at the end of this bridge here is at mile marker 59 is the Harnedsville trail access. It's just a roll off the street trail access point, just kind of like Fort Hill was. Only space for maybe about 3 or 4 vehicles. Interestingly though, there's a porta potty at this trail access. We're crossing under Hogback Road, and this little area is paved, has a cement underdecking here. And that's pretty much it as far as downhill right here, except for way at the end you'll see in a second. But this segment kind of parallels Listenberg Road. It's right over that way. It'll eventually turn into Odin Street by the time we get to the location of Luther P. Miller Incorporated. It's a local heating oil supplier you'll see here in a few minutes. You can see obviously the Casselman River is on our left. There's some railroad tracks on the right that go across Listenberg Road that turns into Odin Street right around here at Luther P. Miller. It's a local heating oil supplier. Now we're coming up to the last river crossing for this segment of the trail. This is the Confluence Casselman Bridge. And it's actually a wood decking bridge. It's actually the only wood decking bridge on this segment of the trail. You can see the Casselman across here, going back from that direction, gentle flowing. And the city, or town, I guess, borough of Confluence is just beyond the other bridge there. So as I said, this is a wood decking. I'm sure you're probably able to see it on the video, shaking a little bit despite the GoPro's hyper smooth there. And mile marker 61, we're pretty close to the Confluence Trailhead. Around the residential areas here. The trail's paved here for a short bit as it goes down towards Route 281. It's locally known Robert Brown Road. And past the trail barriers here, the trail will actually parallel the road for a short bit. You see the Confluence Trailhead signs will lead us to the left here. If you use Confluence as a staging point for an out and back, let me recommend the Lucky Dog Cafe. I've eaten and had some coffee there before. It is actually very good. So here at Gap Mile 61.3, we've reached the Confluence Trailhead at the Wetzel Memorial Recreational Area, and this is where our ride ends for today. The trailhead town of Confluence is very familiar with cyclists and other trail users and has a lot of trail access points and bike-friendly roads, but we'll see more of that in the next episode. I hope you enjoyed this look at the Great Allegheny Passage segment from Rockwood to Confluence. This is one of the longer segments on the trail, and it's a fantastic mix of peaceful, shady forested rides, selfie-worthy bridges across the beautiful river views, and is bookended by two very bike-friendly trailhead towns. It's definitely worth coming out here to spend a day. And even if you're going to be using Confluence as a staging point, the uphill ride to Rockwood is easily doable. But for now, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you next time for another episode of Secrets of the Trails. Have a great ride.